Hello, and welcome to another video. Now, if you've been a fan of the channel for a while, you might know that other than Star Wars, I'm a big fan of all things weird when it comes to LEGO. Um, Weird bricks, weird themes, and weird sets. I know in the past, um, we've taken looks at Scala up there, um, and I've got a whole set of Galador figures there um, that we'll take a look at, um, and then, or we'll take a look at in a different video. And then the subject of today's video um, is the short run or short lived. I believe it's a late 90s or early 90s. But sometime definitely in the 90s. We have the uh, Znap um, or Znap. Um, I'm not sure how it's supposed to be pronounced. It's Snap, but with the Z. Because this was the 90s, man, and bricks weren't cool anymore, so LEGO decided to come up with a new building technique, or new building system, and it's so weird to me. I've never owned a Znap set before, and I was able to pick up this polybag for pretty cheap. Um, I'm not even sure how many pieces it has because it doesn't say on it. Um, the front of the design is just so weird. Um, where here, hold on. The front of the design is just so weird. Um, where like, cause you can see. Apparently it's got alternate models. With the base model being this go-kart looking thing. Um, and then like you've got the instructions, but really small, just sort of plastered on the front here. Um, it's so weird to me. If we go ahead and we turn that around, um, you can see on the back they've got just the parts just sort of randomly arranged. And then they've got even more alternate builds. Um, so we'll open it up and figure out how many alternate builds the instructions give us. But yeah, this will be my first time building a Znap or Znap set. And so we'll find out what it's like. So having opened the poly bag very carefully, um, it's kind of interesting. Um, so the bigger pieces, they all came out, but then the smaller pieces, such as the Technic pins, um, those are all in their own smaller bag, which is really interesting. Um, and then the instructions, um, are kind of weird. Where so it's 5 steps to build the go kart, and then it just sort of it shows you that like you can build a plane. Um, it doesn't give you any instructions on how to, though. I guess the plane looks relatively simple. Looks like you could figure that out. Um, but then the back of the instructions uh, has this super crazy um, image here that is so like bizarre to me. Let's see if I can't get that to. There we go. Um, where it's got this big Znap made like robot, um, which is just so bizarre to me. Because like that would have been a practical thing that they would have made and then photographed. I really want to know the story behind that. I want to know, like, because I don't know. I don't think there really are a whole lot of people in the Lego space that are like super into Snap, right? Where like even Galador's got its own like niche section, but Snap, I don't know that there are that many. But it would be really cool if someone has like actually made this whole robot. Like that would be super cool to see. Um, but yeah, as you can see, they launched with a whole bunch of sets. I don't believe this theme really lasted very long. I think it was the maybe not the start, but definitely one of many different themes that Lego was trying out in the 90s, because for some reason they thought that the the problem was that people didn't like brick based building, and that's why they weren't selling as much, rather than realizing that they just needed to innovate, and make uh, brick built building, like they needed to make that better than what they had. Um, but yeah, so we'll go ahead and we'll build up the set, and I'll show it what it looks like. So here you have it. Um, this is the finished set. Um, it did come with an extra Technic pin that I put in the middle of those two, um, just because it seems to make it more stable. Because otherwise those two can kind of bend, but with that in there, makes it a little more stable. Though I do kind of wish they had a connector, because even with that in, you can tell that they're not exactly like even. Um, we're going together entirely, which is weird because it's brand new. Like I opened this polybag. You saw it earlier. It was sealed. Um, so they shouldn't be bent out of shape or anything. But I mean, it's fine. It's a racer. I would be kind of interested in building more of these sets just to find out if that purple piece, because it looks like the hole there is big enough to fit like a Technic axle through, or not a Technic axle, a Technic lift arm. Um, looks like it's big enough for one of those to go through. Um, and so I'd be kind of curious to see if they used that in some of these sets, or if they just used it as like a corner piece. But I don't know. I do find it weird that when people talk about the bankruptcy era of Lego, I mean, uh, Znap seems to go under the radar, which I feel is really weird because it should be mentioned. Because much like Scala, um, it uses, I mean, because like this set, this is a poly bag. This would have been really cheap to get, but other than the Technic pins, um, everything else is a new mold. like every other piece. So, um, so we've got 6 new molds, all for this one set. All for a poly bag, right? Which, like, that's something that LEGO would never do now. Now, of course, I imagine that these pieces were probably used in another Znap set, but I mean, like, you wouldn't see that today. You would not see LEGO come out with a set that all but one element are new molds, entirely new molds. And like, it's so weird to me. Um, like, don't get me wrong, I think it's cool that it exists. Um, but like, and it's a neat part of Lego's history to look back on and realize that, like, oh yeah, they legitimately thought that brick-based building was the problem. Um, which is just so interesting and fascinating. Now, obviously, the comparison has to be drawn from this to the competitor brand K'NEX. I'm not sure what the story is there. I don't know if it's a matter of LEGO just didn't keep up the patents, or uh, LEGO probably did quickly scrap Znap, realized that it was probably way too expensive to maintain a a set line that uses entirely new molds, pretty much, than what they've been producing anyways. Um, so like, that may have been the reason why they failed, or why they canned it. Um, but obviously, K'NEX is still around, I believe. I think it's still around. Um, I don't know. I wasn't a big K'NEX kid, obviously, um, but it is just kind of interesting that you see that um, even a failed Lego sub theme, such as Snap, uh, somehow Lego's competitors managed to make it succeed, which is really bizarre to me. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I would pick up more Snap sets. Because, like, while this one was interesting to look at, I think a lot of the interest for me comes, like, from the meta of it, of knowing that, like, this is a canceled Lego theme. Um, but like, I don't really have too much interest in getting more sets, but um, if you're looking at this and this is something that really interests you, from what I can tell, all of the Znap sets are pretty cheap on Bricklink, so have at it, I guess. And yeah, I think that's going to do it for this video. So thanks for watching, and bye bye.